The Merkava Mark III Baz is a Tier 8 Israeli main battle tank in armored warfare. It is the first tank in its line to be equipped with a hard-kill APS and a 120mm smoothbore ready-rack cannon, with 4 shells, dramatically improving its defense and attack capabilities. It is also noticeably faster than previous Merkavas of its line and has a competitive reload. With single-shot tanks of its own tier, this allows it to stay in the engagement continuously, rather than pull back and reload its clip. The Baz also reflects the playstyle of the later two Merkavas, shifting it from being a slow and awkward machine into a missile-immune monster, with firepower exceeding its fellow MBTs, giving it the ability to deal almost 2000 damage within 9 seconds. However, this frontal armor and firepower comes at a cost, like all Merkava. In armored warfare, the Merkava 3 Baz follows on from the Merkava 2C and the Magak 7C Tier 6 tanks in the Sol Schreiber vehicle dealer.
Thank you to my friend JC for voicing that. I hope you enjoyed it. So today, as you may have guessed from the past minute and a bit, this is the review for the Sol Schreiber, I think, Tier 8 Merkava 3 Baz review. To start off with, this tank is very powerful for its own tier. It has a 120mm ready rack with 4 shells. This gives it the ability to do roughly 2000 damage in about, let's say, 8, 9, 10 seconds. I'm going to go and say 9 here. So to start off with, let's have a look at the modifications. So one of the first things you want to do with this vehicle is get your trophy APS, as it gives you a hard kill versus missiles. Then you want to go down the firepower lines. You get a thermal sight. You don't really shoot. You shouldn't really be bothered with these guys, but the idea is that it gives you the aim time reduction and some pretty powerful heat rounds as well, which will allow you to go through Ramkas and Terminator's side armor, and of course the side armor of a lot of MBTs as well. The missiles I'm going to call useless. 800 pen missiles isn't that good, and while they're self-guiding, you do have enough gun depression, and there isn't really that many times you'll be using missiles. Apart from that, you don't get any engine upgrades. However, you do get these as well, so it's either a choice between the APS or the improved suspension, and of course the air conditioner is a nice little thing as well. And then you also get this commander, who is, generally speaking, I believe he is basically tailor-made for Merkavas, as well as a nice camouflage. And then of course you follow on from to the Merkava Mark IV. There are no Tier 7 progression tanks in this line, so you either come from the Merkava 2C, which you will be adjusted to roughly the playstyle of the Merkavas, but if you come from the Magaks, you'll come into a shock, as you will no longer have the fastest or the best guns in your tier, but you will have extremely tough armor, a ready rack, and to be basically invulnerable to most missiles, except for a few cases. So, starting off with, driver-wise, you either want to go for off-road driving, and well, off-road driving is basically mandatory. Field repair is good as well, since most of the time the side armor in the Merkava is pretty crap, so people will try to track you. And of course, if you can get out of that track situation, it's all good on you. However, you could go for smooth ride, which will give you better accuracy while moving, but that's up to you really. You also have a gunner. At this point, I kind of screwed up here, so I will go for preventative maintenance for your guns, since thermobarics and missiles will be a lot in your tier, and either sharpshooter or quick draw. And lastly, for your loader, I will go for explosive shells and vehicle expertise, giving you a 35% chance, giving you a 35% repair rate on your tracks already, which basically already gives you an improved Pioneer toolkit. So if you get that improved Pioneer toolkit, you have a 70% track for speed buff. Lastly, improved filter systems to help out with your acceleration and hit points, and of course an improved gun breach Mark II. I would take a good shot of these shells. 700mm is excellent, 800m for your heat rounds, pretty good, and maybe some high explosive shells if you're feeling special. Considering the engine is in the front of this tank and they do seem to be set on fire a lot, an auto fire extinguisher is basically mandatory, as well as a first aid cabinet and a surplus parts crates. So, how does the Merkava stack up to its contemporaries? And I should probably start, using the filter system. There we go. So let's compare it to the main tanks in its tier. So we've got the M1A2, the Leopard, the T90, and the Type 99. So these are the baseline tanks of their tier, to be honest. And of course maybe the Ariete, which I often forget exists. So as we can see here, the Merkava has the highest hit points in their tier. This is a trend of the Mercs, they have an absolute fuck ton of hit points. Unfortunately has the lowest gun damage, but 700 pen is pretty damn decent. Falling in line roughly with the M1A2 and the C1 Ariete. While this won't really help you against tier 10s, it will help you against tier 9s. It also has a very competitive reload speed as compared to the 8, almost 8, 6, 7 and 7. So you'll be roughly on par with a Type 96 and a Leopard 2A5. The hull armor is actually, generally speaking, pretty decent at this point. It's reinforced composite, and the turret is basically impenetrable, unlike, say, the M1A2. Apart from that, it's just camouflage during MBT, and the gun depression is relatively decent, as well as the maximum deviation, as well as the aim time. 1.52 is pretty decent. That's like basically lightning by World of Tanks levels. In Armoured Warfare, it's your usual standard MBT thing here. The turret traverse, however, is pretty slow, but at 35 degrees a second, you will still be able to lock onto most targets relatively quickly. And the weight of 65 tons means that whoever's going to ram you is presumably stupid, and your whole traverse speed is yeah. But then again, you are in a Merkava, and to be honest, pointing your sight towards anyone is basically a death sentence anyway. So, what about the protection system? So this thing comes with a protection system. So versus its own shells, 700 pen, you have a green spot here, 100% chance to penetrate. However, the lower plate is also weak, is also very much stronger at 720, and as you can see here, it's all of that as well. Against missiles of its own tier, you do have that little bit there. However, it is very difficult to get at, considering it's a relatively small place. Yeah. For the most part, this vehicle is basically invulnerable to missiles. Let's try and penetrate it with tier 10 missiles, actually. Let's see, what about Cornets? So, if you were a Cornet, yeah. Like I said, this thing is very powerful against missiles. You have all of these spots in the tank and everything, but to be honest, aiming at turret weak spots can usually be a bit of a downer, simply because the turret's moving all the time and everything. So, yeah, like I said. However, this vehicle does have some weaknesses against missiles, mostly against Ramkas. What the hell is that thing? Anyway, against Thermo Barracks, as you can see here, pretty good chance to go through, as well as parts of the turret as well. So Ramkas do have a chance to go up against you. However, against average missiles on your tiers, will have problems with you, such as the Bradley with its 850 pen missiles. Yeah. However, against the more high penetrating vehicles of your tier, such as the Leopard 2A5, you are basically butter. As you can see here, the engine is right there, and that will give you a massive chance to set on fire. The ammo rack is basically right there, towards the back of the tank, so if anyone hits you, you are dead, and of course the side armor is basically pathetic. So, yeah. You will get ammo racked a lot, so it's worthy to have that fire extinguisher kit. And lastly, we do have the cage armor is actually pretty troll. It says you can penetrate it there, but it doesn't take into account the fact there is spaced armor there and there. So if you are a AFV, go for the engine block down here instead of there, as that is quite literally impenetrable. As you can see, it is a very good paint scheme. So, commanders wise, there is a choice of a couple of commanders here, considering this, unlike many other vehicles of its own tier. So, you have a choice of Cortez, which will skyrocket your DPM, as you basically will always hit max damage. However, you don't really get that much out of it, really. So, if you just want to go for damage, you should go for Cortez. If you want to go for a very competitive reload speed, you can choose Rachel. So we can see here, reload speed increased by 6% per enemy within 50 meters, and you also get some nice module damage and everything as well. Crew resilience, all the good stuff. Good acceleration off-road as well. However, in my opinion, this comes down to two commanders. Philip, who will basically make you a lot more tanky, as well as giving you some crew stats, ammo rack and everything, crew module damage, explosive damage, and a massive repair speed increase, which will boost your repair speed for about roughly 110%, which is ridiculous. And Gaia. Now, Gaia is basically tailor-made for the Merkavas, as has been said before, and I can never find him because he's always lurking around. This guy is basically based on taking hits. So you get a crew stat increased by 5% when you're hit. You basically get a free energy drink. Your APS time goes down by 32%. You get a nice reload speed. Reload speed increased by about 1.8%. So, and you get a load of good stuff as well. So this guy is basically tailor-made for mercs, as they will bounce missiles and shells left and right if you use them well. And of course, if your APS does it, that also counts. Fair enough. So, it's time for some games. Okay, starting off with somebody else's tank. Good review there, Spitfire. So, anyway, this is a paint scheme you can get from the Subscriber line and is relatively pretty good. I think this is... None of the other Merkavas, in my opinion, have this good of a camo scheme. It just seems to work. So, in most times with Merkavas, you will either be looking at going down the one line to broad it out HIJ line, or you will go into the refinery. However, as you can see, this thing can shift pretty well. So for once, I'm actually going to push to the 9 line, as doing something unexpected is always good. And like I said, since this is pretty damn mobile, considering the Merkava 1 and the Merkava 2 are not, you may as well do something wild with them. So there are a couple of things I want to highlight with this replay. This isn't the best of replays, but this is the replay where the mobility and the ready rack actually come pretty well into account. So I want you to focus on those things, as most of the time when people talk about Merkavas, they talk about, oh, APS, oh, the gun. Well, they never talk about how fast they are, or how fast you can get them once they start going up in tiers. As you can see there, pop going off. And the relatively decent reload there, 7.27 compared to the 8 or the 9 seconds of the tier 6 and the tier 5, means that you can basically pop off shells relatively quickly, and it only takes you about roughly 24 seconds for you to be able to, 28 seconds for you to be able to go. And as you can see there, we've done 1,100 damage to that guy already, and we still have 2 shells left in the clip. 3 shells now, and the shells, as said before, do reload relatively quickly. So we've taken this flank. I've done 1,001. I've basically done a quarter of my hit points. As said before, this thing has 3,750 hit points. Like, you thought the Challenger had a lot of hit points. Jesus, look at the mercs. So you can take a ton of hits in these things. As you can see, this battle is unfolding pretty badly. A lot of the times people just completely neglect this side because they're idiots. I'm going to say that, they're all morons. So we need to push this side, as we only have a Challenger 2 in the refinery. Then we have a Merkava 4 up there, and we also have a Merkava 4 platoon as well. Usually, as you can see here, the teams are relatively balanced. They have Type 99s, we have Merkava 4s, they have VBRs and Terminators, we have MGS, and me. So anyway, for now, I'm going to see if I can pop some shells into this guy. Pretty damn good. If this was a regular tank, I'd only be able to do 1 shot. And I've taken 1,000 damage, but I've still basically got 3,000 hit points left. If I was in, say, a T-72, I'd be in the 1,000 category by now. But since I've got 1,000 more hit points than the T-72 does, I'm still at a relatively healthy weight. I can basically take most of the shells from the WP-handers, and even if I were to get fully ready racked by another Merkava, I'll still have about 700 hit points left. So it's all good from here. The Merkava over there, they can be relatively difficult to penetrate. That guy over there is quite literally having the funnest thing ever. And as you can see there, once they angle, they are very vulnerable side armor. So good thing to take of note, don't ever show your side armor unless it's at an auto bounce angle. Auto bounce angles are basically very sharp angles in armoured warfare, where it's not where the thickness of your armour counts, it's the thickness of where sabot, heat shells, missiles will simply either fail to fuse or shatter. There are a few tanks in the game that have good side armour, but they are relatively rare, and most of the time that side armour is usually only good in a few places and people will simply just track you instead. So we've got a Leopard 2A4 Revo over there. Now, this is where I make a mistake in this game, but I'm going to go for this Revo now. The enemy team is going to start shooting me, but I figure at this point, I can either go into the hill and slug all the way up. This thing still isn't as fast as the other MBTs in its tier, unfortunately. So I can either slug up the hill, or I can go for the Revo, and hope for the best. So, in this case, I decided I'll go for the Revo. He can't hit me since I'm under his gun, and now, even though I've got a lot less hit points, I can basically brawl him. So there he is, okay. 1, 2, damn it, missed. And this guy has the very fortunate tendency of the fact that his ammo rack didn't explode. As you can see here, I'm still getting hit by everything, but getting bounce and shot lowered me down to 6,000 to 6.5 seconds. So we did what was essentially 2,500 damage to that Revo and left him on not that much health. So I'll take that up as a win. So very important things to mind is the fact that I managed to get all the way over there relatively quickly, which is not something you could do with other Merkavas. So, like I said, I'll chalk that up as a win. Now, for the second game. Okay, this one is going to be a lot more action-packed, I promise you, believe me. Anyway, as you can see here, we are in a full tier 8 game. We have a better MBT lineup. We have a 2A5 and a 1A2. We have 3 Mercs, they have 2. They have an MGS and a Challenger 1 Falcon. We have a weaker AFE lineup with only a Missile Dildo and a Ramka, whereas they have 2 Ramkas. We have a Rosamac, they have a Wario, Stingray each. They have a K1A1, which beats out the M1 Abrams. However, we have some TADUs, which are better than Leopards, and we have a pair of T90s, which are better than the which can be better than the Merkava 2D, but their TADU is better than the T90. So overall, they have a weighted favour of AFEs, but we have a better MBT lineup. This means that us as MBTs will have to push and make up for the deficit. So we spawn on the bottom here. Look at that lovely camo. Anyway, I digress. So we have 30 seconds to go, and unlike other people, I have no idea what the fuck I'm going to say, so we might as well just speed up a bit. There we go. And I'm going to go all the way to the hill on this map. There are either 2 options you can go for the... Well, on this part of the map, there are either 2 places you can go. You can either go for the hill, or you can attempt to flank around. This part of the map is relatively dangerous, as you will be spotted by the AFVs, and you can always go for... Moron and a Leopard over there decided to do whatever was there. Or you could always try and push up there. However, in Merkavas, it's not really that good of an idea, as you're still slower. So for instance, you could do that in a 2A5 or a TADU, but maybe not in a Merc. So for now, we've got a load of people coming up. Noticeably, this thing is actually faster off the draw than an Abrams, because the Abrams gas turbine engine really lets it down. And an important thing to note is that not one Merkava in the game actually has ERA on the side. So every single Merc in the game has weak side armor. So for now, we're going to push all the way up. It's always a good idea, and the game system is bugged again. So you can't really see what I'm aiming at. But anyway, the ready rack is going to go really well in this one. 1,100 to that Challenger. While the Challenger will beat me in a fight, I have the faster draw. So if I can keep this going to a 1 or 2 shot scenario, I will win. And as you can see there, right now this thing is in its element, as the enemy is bouncing all around me. I think they're shooting at the lower plate, not the middle part of the upper plate. Lower plate, I do that myself. As you can see, since most of our team is over here, the best thing to do is simply to keep pushing in. That Merkava 3 over there, I'm not really sure what he thinks he's doing, but that's fine for now. Anyway, we've done 2,600 damage. That's relatively decent, but we need to do more. Considering the high hit points of the Merkavas, in order to do better, you need to do about 1,000 damage more than most MBTs of your tier, simply so you can get that up. K1A1 over there, I have no idea what he's doing. The enemy kind of should have used that wreckage in their favour. Say smoke up, go hold down, they can't shoot it. And for now we're going to bully this Challenger 1 Falcon. If you can get someone in a compromising position like that, you should always go for it. And I'm basically aiming there. Can I shoot him in the driver's port? No, so I'll go for the Leopard instead. For now, this Challenger is actually going to have issues penning me. The K1A1 can pen me though. That Stingray, on the other hand, cannot. I have no idea what he's doing there, but for the most part, we've got these guys completely routed. So we'll go for the K1A1. And then let's see if we can screw over this Stingray. Hi, Stingray. As you can see there, he went straight for the side armor, which is terrible. And lastly, we can go for this Merkava 2D Storm. Now, I'm going to go all the way around because I want to shot his ammo rack or his engine or something. No, bounced, unfortunately. Okay then. So, I figured out on this point, this is a problem that a lot of players have, is they only go forwards, they never go back. And they've got a pair of Merc 2s over there. Well, they did have a pair of Merc 2s. This TADU is being difficult, wonderful. And they have a Leopard as well. So rather than basically feast off the scraps, I can go all the way back down, and instead I can either intercept them or I can get into a position where I can hit them. At the very least, that means, well, I can do more damage rather than, like I said before, feast on scraps that the rest of my team is doing. So I'm actually going to do some spotting damage now. Even in a slow tank like the Merkava, you can still do spotting damage, you can still relocate if needs be, and you should definitely try that. 523, not bad. Bounce, but see, all that spotting damage, beautiful. And lastly, we can basically just go straight for Leopard, who I think completely forgot where he was going, and we got him. He hit me back in one shot, but oh well, who cares? We're now up to 7,189 damage because I decided to push up. I decided to get myself in the line of fire. APS blocked that warrior's shot. It's all pretty good. So either way, at this point, we've basically won this game. I'm unsure what this warrior was trying to attempt, to be honest. Instead of like reversing my tank all the way around, instead I decided to go that way, and now I'm basically got this guy. And as you can see, that weak side armor proving itself again. So we've done 8,828 damage, we bounced a ton of hits, and for the most part it's all gone pretty well. So, let's have a look at that game and see how it went. If the game will load, of course. Don't think the game likes loading at times. So, awkward. Anyway, so the conclusions we can get from that game is that the ready rack system on the Merkava is extremely powerful. The armor and the auto bounce angles still work. However, the side armor is still pretty crap. So if you over angle or show your side like I did, you will be penetrated. Lastly, despite the fact it's slower than most of the MBTs in its own tier, the Merkava 3 can still relocate and it will still be pretty good. And I think I will have to restart Armored Warfare. Oh dear. Anyway, thank you to Armored Warfare for that little hiccup. Anyway, let's have a look at that game to see how we did. I have a lot of games. Jesus Christ. There we go. So we did a grand total of 8,828 damage, and I also got the Iron Fist achievement. 747 damage and some battle coins. Yay. Top of the team, some nice spawning damage there, 7,000 XP. 4 enemies killed, 8 enemies damaged. Could have done maybe some more damage. A total of around 10k bounces and misfires and stuff, but it happens. I bounced 8,000 damage, 4,200 from non-penetrating hits, 2,000 from ricochets, and APS bounced 1,000 damage as well from those missiles, so it's all good. Lastly, generally speaking, I would definitely recommend getting this tank. It is the first Merkava in the line that isn't painful, as the other two, the slowless and the long reload of their guns, means that once they've spot their load, it takes them a long time to reload. Stretching. Anyway, so I give this tank 1 Arcangelo out of spaghetti. Thank you for watching, as always, remember to like and subscribe. Next week is the K1A one, followed by the BMP3, and there is a poll up on my Discord where you'll be able to vote for the tanks coming after the BMP3 in 2 weeks' time. Subscribe as always for content, streams, videos and reviews, and if you'd like to help out with my plane ticket, there is a Streamlabs description below which will guide you to there, and as I said before, everybody helps, and I would also like to thank JC for doing the voiceover for the first minute and a bit of this video. For now everybody, take care, I hope you enjoyed this review, and see you all next time. Bye!